Hey guys, I wanted to share a story with you, and this story is my story. So some of you might be able to relate and understand, but I know many of you will not. But I feel it's important because, for one thing, you'll kind of start to understand or get an idea of why I am how I am now. Um, so let me start with after I graduated from college, I decided to move down to North Carolina. And a couple months after I moved, I met my husband and we got married in 2009. Then in 2011, I ended up finding out that I was pregnant and I miscarried. That was pretty devastating. Then a little bit later on that year, I found out I was pregnant again. And so in 2012, I had my beautiful girl, Ruby. And when I had her, she really made me feel what true, unwavering love felt like. And it was something that I've never felt in my life. It's not something that I could just really truly describe. When you feel it, it's unreal. And so everything was great. And Ruby got a year older, and we had a huge celebration for her. And then on February 3rd, 2014, she was about a year and a half. And she woke up and normal, kind of grumpy, but that's not uncommon for most of us, huh? And I got her ready, took her to the babysitter so I could go to work. I teach. So I went to school and my day goes on, and then all of a sudden I realized I missed some phone calls from my husband. My husband never calls me at work. And so my assistant was with me, so I went ahead and went out of the room to go and check my voicemail and to give him a call back. And my principal intercepted me before I could get to that point. And she said, "Oh, I was just coming to see you. I need you to go ahead and grab your things and come on with me." Okay. So we go, and there was an investigator there to take me to the hospital because he said my daughter was sick. And we got to the hospital. My husband was there already, and we were waiting for the ambulance to arrive with Ruby. And so then my husband told me more as to what happened. That the babysitter went to wake Ruby up for lunch, and Ruby didn't wake up. So her boyfriend started working on her, doing CPR. They called the ambulance, and they were still working on CPR on her, and that's why it was taking them a while to get her to the hospital. So finally she arrived, and they continued working on CPR on her, and about 10 to 2 that afternoon, they let us go in the room where they were working, and I remember yelling, "Ruby, breathe!" Just wanting her to breathe. And she didn't, and shortly thereafter they called time and stopped working on her, and then I officially became a bereaved parent. And that was devastating. That was this baby that brought this effervescent love and this huge smile and lots of life and joy is now gone. And I knew right away I was going to need counseling and help and everything, because I just don't know how to deal with it. And it still is hard. I've been without her for 4 years. I suffer from depression. I suffer from PTSD. My PTSD usually pertains to people doing CPR. It pertains to answering the phone or making phone calls. It's really hard for me to sometimes do that. I have to kind of psych myself up to make a phone call or to answer a phone call. And my life has been impacted from that. So things that normally happen, like answering the phone, I don't always do. Sometimes I can't bring myself to do it. And so there's not a day that goes by that I don't think about her. I don't miss her. That I don't miss her. I mean, I miss her every single breathing moment. And I know my husband does too. There's no question. So here's our beloved Ruby that has died. Her cause of death could not be explained. It was undetermined, according to the report from the state medical examiner. And that's just unreal. She's a year and a half, and her death was undetermined. Well, and here's the thing is she saw her doctor, our doctor, a month earlier, and she was perfectly fine. No problems. So I have no answers. My husband, we have no answers as to how she died. So she falls into the category of sudden unexplained death in childhood. And that's where children above the age of 1 suddenly die and their death is considered unexplained or undetermined. And it is actually the 5th leading cause of death in toddlers. But we don't even have theories as to what causes this or why it happens. So it's hard to say if I'm ever going to have answers as to why my daughter died, why she's not here, why she's not the role model that I dream her to be for her 2 younger brothers. So I had the older of the 2 boys about a year after she passed. So he's 3 years old. And then I had the youngest one almost 5 months ago. So now they live not knowing their sister personally, outside of the stories, the videos, the pictures, and the things that I and family and friends share with them. So they know they have a sister, but they just will never meet her. They will never truly know her and build a relationship with her and do all of those things that siblings do. They won't fight. They won't, cause trouble for each other. And it's hard. There's a lot of things that I have to live and deal with. Ruby would have been 6 this year. So there's no question. Like, I don't know where the cutoff point is for when kids start school. So I don't know if technically she would have started school last year, but she definitely would have been in school this year. So I miss out on taking her first day of school picture, like everybody does, and post it everywhere. I'm going to miss out on everything. Being able to go and have a girls' day with her. Being able to, see her graduate high school. Maybe go to college if she chose to. Get married. Maybe have kids. And yeah, I have 2 boys. but she was my only girl. So it's a difficult thing. Um, and my boys will never take her place. She is always a member of my family. She is always my child. I will always remember her. And I have family members that won't acknowledge her necessarily. Like they might send a card and, or say that I have 2 kids instead of 3. And then I do have family members that do acknowledge her, and they'll address the card to all 5 of us, which included Ruby. And that means a lot. And I might cry when they do that. Not because they're reminding me that she died. I live every day of my life knowing that my daughter is dead. Every day. So they don't need to remind me. I already know that. I breathe every moment knowing that. If anything, I cry because they took the time to remember her. They took the time and the moment to acknowledge that she was here. Now, her little 1.5 year life, maybe I worry that as to whether it made a difference to people. And I want anybody that encountered her to remember her, to remember Ruby and the life that she gave and lived with, and the laughter and her smile and all her expression she had if you knew her. Because she will always be a part of me and my family. So if you know someone that has lost a child, take the time to remember that child. Because in our day, parents should not bury their children. Their children bury their own parents. But not me. I am a bereaved parent. I had to bury my child. Please remember her. And if you know someone that lost their child, take the time to remember their child, because their child's life mattered.